Before we jump into the episode today, I want to share something with you from my heart. First of all, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really can't tell you how much your support means to me. We've been doing the podcast now for almost 4 years. I can't even believe it. And I'm so grateful for each and every single one of you that listens, shares an episode with your friends, sends me a DM or a text message letting me know how an episode resonated with you or any aha moments. Seriously, I couldn't be more grateful to be able to create this podcast. It has been such a blessing in my life, and I love hearing the ways it's been able to provide value in yours as well. One thing you might not know is how much work it takes to be consistent with a podcast. In fact, did you know that the majority of podcasts don't make it past episode number 10? And we are well beyond that. And it's just a lot thinking of the episodes, recording them, editing them, managing the guests, making sure that everything runs smoothly and gets uploaded consistently and regularly. And so that's why I have created an amazing opportunity for you to support the podcast monetarily. And in exchange for that, you will get exclusive premium subscriber content. So for as little as $3 a month, you can become a premium subscriber of the podcast. And every month I will upload new voice-guided workouts and breathwork meditation audio for you. So that way you can work out with me, coaching you in your ears. You can also take a moment to reduce your stress and relax and come down and ground down with one of my breathwork audios. So if that is on your heart to support the podcast for as little as $3 a month to become a premium podcast subscriber, I can't tell you how much that means to me and the growth of this podcast. I appreciate you. If you're interested, click the link in the description, become a premium podcast subscriber, new content every month, and while supplies last, I'll send you an exclusive podcast coffee mug so you can have your self-love and sweat coffee every morning. I appreciate you. Now let's get into the show. Welcome to Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast, the place where you'll get inspired to live your life unapologetically, embrace your perfect imperfections, break down barriers, and do what sets your soul on fire. I'm your host, Lunden Souza. Hey, have you grabbed your free Self-Love and Sweat monthly calendar yet? This calendar is so amazing. It comes right in your inbox every single month to help you have a little nugget of wisdom, a sweaty workout, a mindset activity, just a little something to help keep you focused and motivated and keep that momentum towards your goals. So every day when you get this calendar, you'll see a link that you can click that will lead to a podcast episode or a workout or something that will be very powerful and quick to read. And then you'll also see on the top left corner of every single day, there's a little checkbox in the calendar. And what that is that's for your one thing. You can choose one thing every month, or it can be the same, something that you want to implement, and make this something that you can easily implement, like daily meditation or getting a certain amount of steps or water, for example, and staying hydrated, and even taking your supplements. This can be something if you want to get more regular doing a particular habit and routine, you can choose what that checkbox means. So if you want your Self-Love and Sweat free monthly calendar delivered right to your inbox every month on the first of the month, go to lifelikeLondon.com/calendar, fill out the form really quickly, and you will have your calendar in your inbox within a few short minutes. That's lifelikeLondon, lifelikeLondon.com/calendar. Go get yours for free and enjoy this episode. Happy today. Welcome to our episode. In this episode, this is kind of different than what I normally do in terms of setting up a structure and then coaching. In this episode, we're talking about opening up your heart, heart math, heart-brain coherence. And this is a topic that I first got introduced to in 2020 when I went to a meditation retreat with Dr. Joe Dispenza. And this was in Cancun, Mexico. It was really awesome. I had just moved back to America from Austria in June, and I knew there was this retreat coming up. I had been practicing the meditations and reading the books of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I had the opportunity to go for a week-long meditation retreat. And that's where I was first introduced to this concept and this feeling at a deeper level of opening up your heart and heart coherence and heart intelligence. And so in this episode, I wanted to basically like pull the curtain, or I would say like let you see behind the curtain of my mind, in the sense of I love to learn. I think learning is probably my favorite ing of all time. I always think about the ings that I love. So learning is one of my favorites. And this particular topic, like I said, has been profound in my life, or if I haven't said that, it has been profound in my life. And I've been continuing to learn about it over the last 3 years. I've read a book in particular, or listened to a book. It's an audiobook, or I listened to the audiobook version of it, but I've listened to the book, The Heart Math Solution, a few times on Audible. And it's a really powerful, really short, amazing listen. So I highly suggest that you listen to it or read the book if you are interested in this topic after listening, or maybe right now you're already Googling the book. The book is called The Heart Math Solution, the Institute of Heart Math's revolutionary program for engaging the power of the heart's intelligence. And it's a wonderful listen, like I said, and I have some notes in my phone that I've been taking as I've been listening, whether I've been walking or traveling or whatever. As I listen to books, usually I'll pop open a note on my phone and write down like aha moments or certain things that have really spoken out to me. And so, that's what I want to do today. So first, I want to kind of give you an overview or an idea of what this like Heart Math Solution is, what the Heart Math Institute is studying and proving and showing, and really what that heart-brain connection is. And so for the book, I really love the description of the book. It says, access the power of your heart's intelligence to improve your focus and creativity, elevate your emotional clarity, lower your stress and anxiety levels, strengthen your immune system, promote your body's optimal performance, and slow the aging process. So that's the like snippet of the book. And when it comes to heart math, think about this, and I'm going to read you something from the Heart Math science section from their website. Like I said, I'm just learning as I'm talking to you and processing and researching. And so on their website, it says the heart-brain connection. Most of us have been taught in school that the heart is constantly responding to orders sent by the brain in the form of neural signals. However, it's not as commonly known that the heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. Moreover, these signals have a significant effect on brain function, influencing emotional processing, as well as higher cognitive faculties, such as attention, perception, memory, and problem solving. In other words, not only does the heart respond to the brain, but the brain continuously responds to the heart. The effect of heart activity on brain function has been researched extensively over about the past 40 years. Earlier research mainly examined the effects of heart activity occurring on a very short time scale over several consecutive heartbeats at maximum. Scientists at the Heart Math Institute have extended this body of scientific research by looking at how larger scale patterns of heart activity affect the brain's functioning. The Heart Math Institute research has demonstrated that different patterns of heart activity, which accompany different emotional states, have distinct effects on cognitive and emotional function. During stress and negative emotions, when the heart rhythm pattern is erratic and disordered, the corresponding pattern of neural signals traveling from the heart to the brain inhibits the higher cognitive functions. This limits our ability to think clearly, remember, learn, reason, and make effective decisions. And I think we can all think about a moment in time, or maybe many moments in time, where we felt that during stress. And this helps explain why we may often act impulsively and unwisely when we're under stress. The heart's input to the brain during stressful or negative emotions also has a profound effect on the brain's emotional processes, actually actually serving to reinforce the emotional experience of stress. Last paragraph. In contrast, the more ordered and stable pattern of the heart's input to the brain during positive emotional states has the opposite effect. It facilitates cognitive function and reinforces positive feelings and emotional stability. This means that learning to generate increased heart rhythm coherence by sustaining positive emotions not only benefits the entire body, but also profoundly affects how we perceive, think, feel, and perform. Yes, that was a lot. And when I read that earlier, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I have to share that. And I think we can all think of moments where, whether we're familiar with heart coherence or not, I think we can imagine a moment of stress where we weren't able to fully hear ourselves, our intuition, all the things. And then like what I just read, it impacts our ability to make decisions and think clearly and show up our best and show up fully. And so, like I said, this concept of heart coherence and opening up the heart happened for me when I was in Cancun, Mexico, doing this meditation retreat with Dr. Joe Dispenza. And that's really what we did for hours and hours and hours on end, with the idea that, like repetitions in fitness, right? We do the reps, we get the impact. And when it comes to our thought patterns and our personal reality based on how we've been showing up, thinking, behaving, feeling, all the things, that's been on repeat. We know how to do that. We are doing that and getting said outcome. So the idea behind this heart math and opening up your heart and the meditation I experienced coupled with it is that you practice feeling a different type of way for extended hours, right? We can think of a whole day that we've been in a certain state, sad, angry, upset, frustrated. So the idea is that we practice spending full days in this state of heart coherence and bliss and love and joy and curiosity and wonder. And it's such a beautiful experience. And I know that some of you listening might be like, okay, Lunden, yeah, you just sit and like think positively. Like, what is that? Yes, there's a lot more to it. And I'm not going to go into a lot of depth about the meditation and different stuff like that. But really it is getting still and bringing up the evidence of joy or positivity that we've experienced before and allow ourselves to stay there and relive that. And it can be an experience that we've experienced before, or even one when we dream about our future and our dreams and our goals, and we get that elevated state and our heart opens and we can just get excited and we might feel a certain type of way that's just like, I love that. And that sounds so great. And so the idea is to stay in that space and to have activities and ways to, check yourself before you wreck yourself, or just like check yourself and come back to that space. And what I've found, most importantly, is a tremendous sense of love for where I am in the here and now, but also like I found that that's the magnet to getting more of what you want. Being in that state of gratitude, being in that state of joy. Now, that doesn't mean that you're always going to experience circumstances that elicit that. And at the same time, we can feel that for a while and then decide to choose joy, decide to choose bliss, decide to choose this more heart open space, especially in our everyday situations where we might find ourselves, just like because of this now, and in this like closed off, very negative, very like limited possibility space. And instead we get a chance to open up to the possibilities and open up to the gratitude ahead of time. And I personally have found miraculous effects through this process of generating abundance, generating feelings of happiness, genuine happiness and contentment, even more so. And also, life is going to ebb and flow. And if we allow things outside of us to control how we feel internally, we're going to be on a wild roller coaster ride. And so we might as well learn to get to know our emotions and get to know things that come up, feel them, decide what that means, and then choose something more empowering. And the idea behind this practice and hours of meditation and heart coherence, which by the way, you only have to do, 5 minutes at the start or whatever. But the idea is to intercept that autopilot, is to be like, okay, I've practiced this feeling. I know what it feels like. And this is more familiar than the old feeling that I used to feel when said circumstance would arise. Does that make sense? Okay, we have to take a quick break for me to tell you about the Dew Skin Tinted Moisturizer from Beautycounter. I am obsessed with it. In fact, I think obsessed is kind of an understatement because I've been using it every single day for like the last 4 months. It's the perfect makeup but no makeup kind of in-between moisturizer with 20 SPF. It has that good see-through hydrating coverage, but it doesn't have full coverage like a foundation. I have been loving it. It feels so good. It makes my morning routine so much faster and simpler, and I feel so much more alive and awake and rejuvenated throughout the day. And honestly, it helps remind me to put on sunscreen daily on my face, because if my moisturizer doesn't have SPF in it, I'm probably not going to put SPF on my skin in the morning. Not because I don't want to, it's just like sometimes I forget all the steps. So I love that I can combine moisturizer with coverage and SPF all inside the Dew Tinted Moisturizer. So I use a number 4. You're going to want to choose a number that works best for your skin tone. But for those of you that, have followed me on Instagram, you can see my skin tone. You can kind of compare a little bit, and you can also take a skin quiz to figure out exactly what coverage, color, tint works best for you. So you'll be able to do that in case you want a little bit more help. So how do you get this product and how do you get it at a discount? I know you're wondering. So the code is CLEAN4ALL20 at checkout for 20% off your entire first purchase at Beautycounter. And you're going to shop at beautycounter.com/Lunden Souza. That's Beautycounter, BeautyCounter.com/LUNDENSOUZA. And you can shop there using your code CLEAN4ALL20. That's CLEANFORALL20 for 20% off at checkout for your first purchase. So go ahead and grab that. It's perfect for your everyday morning hydrating, sun protecting, rejuvenating, brightening skincare routine. You're going to love it. Grab yours today. So maybe we can just all do that together for a second. I hadn't planned this, but I think it's a nice space to get. So wherever you are, just think of, something that brings you joy, whether it's, an experience or your kids or a feeling that you just know you feel when you're in that state of just like, oh, this is awesome. I totally want to be here. Or maybe it's when, you had an unexpected surprise, whether it was like a bonus at work or someone acknowledged you in a way where your just heart was so open and just so happy and joyful. And when we breathe into our heart space and do that, and just focus on that feeling, I feel like that's so much better and a much better option than to get caught up in stirring the pot and get caught up at, being at effect. Like everything is just like, affecting me, and I have no control over my own emotions or my own feelings, or most importantly, my own reactions to some of that inner turmoil or inner experience, right? And so, I think that's a great place to be. So, I took some notes on my phone, and I guess that's where I want to go next and share those with you. And actually, it was really, so I guess I'll backtrack a little bit and talk about how in heart math and in, what I'm talking about, it's not about, only being positive and only feeling positivity or anything like that. It's really about understanding what happens to our body's physiology and performance and all those things when we do choose a space of heart coherence, while acknowledging that sometimes for a little while, however long you feel like you need, it's cool to be in certain emotions like sadness or frustration and spaces of healing. But what was really interesting about that I highlighted a lot in my notes about the Heart Math Solution book and what they talked about in terms of emotional states is that actually anger is a great emotion to practice alchemizing. Now, what that means is when we relive, let's say, we can relive different situations, or when feelings of anger arise, or situations that we bring up feelings of anger. We might be in a state of anger, let's say, reliving that anger, reviving that anger, or hurtful situations doesn't make it disappear, right? Like sometimes we just got to get things out. With anger, it's different. It actually doesn't make it disappear. It reinforces that angry circuitry. I'll say that again. Reliving the anger and hurtful situations doesn't make it disappear. It reinforces that circuitry. And it can actually do more damage to our heart when we continue to have those outbursts of anger continuously. And instead, what should we do when we feel angry? Recognize the behavior and learn to behave differently. And that's really like what I said before about what coming out or what comes out might be a result of, being inside and inner standing and like working through some of what you might be feeling and changing that. And that's not saying, and it might be a little bit of like, being it. My boyfriend always says, be it until you see it, which I love, instead of fake it until you make it. It might be a little bit of that, but the idea is not to push down those feelings of anger into a Tupperware, into the back of the fridge until it starts stinking and explodes and you have an explosion, right? That's not the idea here. The idea is that we practice new ways of feeling and new ways of being. And to the point of sitting in that space of heart coherence, we get to practice what that feels like. And when we practice what something feels like and we get good at it, we can more easily access it. And so that space of heart coherence and eliciting joy and those feelings can come in handy, especially when practiced, when we come to a situation where we might feel like, oh yeah, this is where I would normally react with anger. This is where I would normally find myself in a potentially hurtful situation and I want to do something different. So let me get into that state quickly. And learning to do that quickly and practicing to get into that state quickly is super helpful. And yeah, there's a lot of techniques that they talk about in the Heart Math Solution book, which I won't go into detail on the podcast here. I think you should read the book. I don't throw my shoulds around lightly, but I think it's a really great read or audio listen. And to be honest, it's really short, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to look on my Audible app right now as I'm recording because I feel like it's super short, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Let me go back to the beginning. I usually listen to my audiobooks as well on like 1.2 speed, which is why I like audiobooks overall. I'm not sure why it's not letting me see. So I think it's about an hour and a half or like a little under 2 hours, the entirety of the book, The Heart Math Solution, which is really cool because I love listening to audiobooks and longer books, but I think it's cool to be able to have quick reads or quick listens in that sense. And so I don't know, I can think of moments where I've definitely reacted in anger. And I can think of moments now where I've been in a situation where I'm like, normally I would react with much more intensity and much more anger. And I'm choosing in this moment to recognize that and feel that and change it. And it's such a weird, cool, challenging feeling. And a part of it when I experienced it was like, yeah, this immature, childish version of myself dying with that, if you will. I can think of a moment where I got so angry at one of my ex-boyfriends because he didn't tell me something. He didn't communicate something to me that I thought he should communicate to me. So my way of showing him that he needed to communicate that to me was to grab a box that was on like the table that was full of gambling chips. They were like ones for a poker night or something. And I just threw the box at him, towards him, tomato, but I was far away on the other side that it didn't even come close to hitting him. It hit the couch and slid underneath the couch, and the chips went everywhere, like all over the floor. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, that is so not what I wanted to do, but I didn't have the tools then to do it better, and I threw shit and I was just angry and frustrated and I didn't know how to not do it better. Or I didn't know how to do it better at the time. And we're looking back now, I can totally remember the situation, right? When we go back, I'm sure we can think of something where we're just like, oh, and afterwards we're like, And so it's never too late to do it better. And it's never too late to go back to those situations and just kind of love on yourself a little bit and be like, yeah, I was doing my best with the tools that I have that I had at the time. And now there was a particular situation with my current boyfriend where I had this moment where I was really able to explain, just like I'm talking to you now, with like clear dialogue, maybe a little bit more emotionally heightened slightly, but very clearly communicate how I was feeling, how it was frustrating that I felt that way, and how I wanted to feel a different type of way, and I was working on it. And it was such a cool moment because I also acknowledged myself in that conversation where I was like, normally I wouldn't do it this way. Normally I would have firehead and just like went through the roof, got super angry, potentially thrown something, just been much more explosive in my behavior. And now because of a lot of this work internally and opening up my heart and, having more compassion for myself and others throughout this process has helped me act differently, right? But I could definitely recognize it, right? I was there. I was like in the moment. I could feel the heat coming up. And I just knew from my work in heart coherence, and then after what I just mentioned to you regarding anger and our ability to really like change it into something more loving, but not push it down, not put it away, actually change it in a way that does our body better than it would if we just every time, we wanted to explode. And I can think of many times where I let my inner world just show in my outer world, or maybe even didn't, to the point of, like I said, masking and putting something away. And now I think with the help of this work and heart coherence and meditation and all of the stuff with NLP that I've been doing and working on, I just feel like it's been so helpful for nervous system regulation and to not feel like we're always at cause, or like I'll often say like Stretch Armstrong being pulled in all of the different directions. And even if we are doing a lot of things, we can be like, oh, this is fun. I'm not Stretch Armstrong, I'm actually like doing a dance, this like weird sideways, being pulled in different directions dance. If you're listening to me, you're like, what is she doing? If you're watching me, you're probably also like, what is she doing? But you know what I mean? We get to shift our perception. And like I read at the beginning, a lot of the messages and signals coming from our heart are going bypassed because we aren't taught to listen to it. And we're just like, yeah, our brain gives this signal, whatever. And it's like, actually, let's come back to the drawing board a little bit and understand and understand a little bit better. And so I highly suggest that you grab that book, The Heart Math Solution, and give it a listen. Let me know if you've read it already, if you have anything to add, right? Like I said, I've just listened to this. This was my third time listening to it, taking down some notes. And I think it's helpful when I'm in this learning process and curiosity process to also talk about it on the podcast or have conversations with friends on the side about it, because I feel like just like with anything, it reinforces what we know and when we're learning. And so I appreciate this space here today to just kind of like talk it out and share with you how I talk it out. And if you have any aha moments or things you want to share, shoot me a message on Instagram, or you can pretty much find me everywhere at Life Like Lunden, but I am especially responsive on Instagram. And then you can also respond to one of my emails if you want. And that directly goes to me, whether it's my weekly newsletter or my monthly updates or some other things I'm sending out via email. You can always hit reply and that'll go directly to me. And if you're listening to this episode and you're like, wait, I'm not on your email list, just go to lifelikelunden.com/calendar. That's the little clip you heard at the beginning. And you will be able to get my monthly mindset and life coaching calendar for free. And then you'll be on my email list and you can hit reply and just be like, hey, I listened to your episode on the heart math and, opening up your heart and heart coherence and things like that. And here's how it spoke to me. You could do that with any of the episodes, but especially this one, I'm just really like, yeah, I feel like I've cracked open, if you will. And it's such a wonderful experience. And now I'm trying to put words to a lot of the experiences that I have been experiencing. So thank you for listening to the podcast. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you at the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Self-Love and Sweat, the podcast. Hey, do me a favor. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, give us a review. This really helps a lot. And share this with a friend. I'm only one person, and with your help, we can really spread the message of self-love and sweat and change more lives all around the world. I'm Lunden Souza, reminding you that you deserve a life full of passion, presence, and purpose, fueled by self-love and sweat. This podcast is a Hit Spot Austria production.